Hi everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. I want to say a very big thank you to the organization. I'm really honored to be invited for this talk. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's such a great player. So, without wasting so much time, I'll just put up my slide. Just a minute, please. Yeah. So I hope you can see my slide now. Yeah. So today I will be speaking on the topic innovating for a national and global development, leveraging tech careers, AI, IoT, and entrepreneurship. And yeah, my name is Michael Lawale, and I'm really passionate about building people and building systems using technology. And as a result, I love exploring novel ideas and researching. So I'm currently working on a research that has to do with how to ensure safety of people on trains. And this is what we call like the railways, the railway transportation. So I'm using a kind of technology called former methods. Hopefully, if time permits, I'll be able to like touch on that as well. Yeah. So I move on to the next slide now. So when we talk about innovation, like innovating for a national and global development, what I just want to try to do first is to break down the word, like simplify it, and try to look at the meaning of each of these word that forms the title. So first word that we have is innovation. And so if I should ask like, what do you think about innovation? I think I put on the slide there like possible words, similar words that are very related to innovation and that might just come up in your heart, in your mind. And I think some of them could be creativity, as you can see on the slide, solution, novelty, advancement, like inventions, quite a lot of them. So I think these are things that could come to mind like when we talk about innovations. So I just wanted to like just have that picture in mind because we'll be delving to some of these things and it's still again talking about like innovation because these are the words that we can see as a synonyms to innovation. So I move on to the next slide now. So, and if you look at the topic again, the title of this presentation again is Innovating for a National and Global Development. So the notable word that we can notice from that title again is about national and global development. So and when we talk about national and global development, like when we talk about nation, we're actually referring to a nation. When we talk about national things like national agendas, we are referring to a nation, what a nation does. And I want you to also have in mind that when we talk about nation, we're not just talking about a geographical area. We're not just talking about a population. We're not just talking about a land. They're not just, we are actually referring to people because it's people that forms the nation. Without people, yeah, when we say Africa, like yeah, some set of people that forms what we call Africa. We talk about like the West, Asia, like a set of description of people that forms this, and that's what we actually refer to nation. And I put it here on the slide again that collective people or personal development leads to national and global development. So when we say innovating for a national and global development, I'm trying to simplify this word to so that you can understand that what this actually is referring to, what this topic is referring to, is about you in the sense that a nation, like a nation, is about people, and when we talk about people, even if we were to simplify this further, we are talking about each individual, like individual people. These are the entities that forms the nation. So I'm trying to like simplify this topic further down to the root word and to the root meaning that it is your own development. It is your own development and or let me put it, our collective development as individual that leads to innovation. We've already showed in the previous slide like what innovation means. Like we've seen development, improvement, It is our collective development that leads to national and global development. So, and that's why I will be like focusing on individual, because if I'm able to, like, if you're able to understand this, that yeah, it is we collectively, like individual collectively, that leads to a nation development. Like we are the nation. Is as much as we develop ourselves, that's when we'll be able to like also develop the nation. So I hope I'm able to drive that point. I'll just move to the next slide, and I'll be sharing like three to five nuggets on this, like how we can personally develop ourselves so that we can develop the nation. So I move on to the next slide. So yeah, before I move on to the nugget that I want to share, so I have this icebreaker question, and I just want you to just maybe think about it as the presentation is going on. So assuming that you become a citizen of that your dream country today, what would be your biggest aspiration, and what contribution will you make to that country? I just want you to think about this, like just keep it at the side in your mind and just ruminate over it. Like if you become a citizen of that your dream country, I don't know what your dream country is. Like maybe you are dreaming to go to the UK, to the US, to Canada, any country whatsoever. What would be your biggest aspiration? What's the contribution that you will make to that country? Just think of that in your mind. What can you bring to the table for that country? Yeah. So yes, as I mentioned, like I'll be sharing some nuggets, and the first nugget I want to mention is interest or passion. So if you are maybe writing, you can put that down, like interest or passion. So we say like leveraging tech careers for AI, IoT, and entrepreneurship for national and global development. Before you can start leveraging tech careers, like before you can start maximizing tech careers or your job or what you do daily on day-to-day basis to innovate your country or a nation, you have to firstly identify your passion. Like identify your passion. Tech industry is a wide domain. Like tech is fast. You can't be generic. You need to become better at something. We've already drive the point that innovation means like you developing yourself, getting better, improving yourself. You can't innovate what is not specific. You need to become better at something. That something is what you need to think about. Now, to make it more contextually based in terms of career, have you thought about something you are really passionate about? Like, have you identified that thing that it's really something that you love to do? Don't be a generalist. Like, there's this common acronym that is always used in the tech industry. They call it tech guy. It is a deceptive, it is a deceptive term because like when you say tech guy, tech is a wide domain. Tech is very wide. It's very large. There's front end, there's back end, there's database engineer, there's AI engineer, there's designer, UI, US, brand, product manager, project manager. Like there's a lot of roles in tech careers. So you need to the first step to innovating yourself before you can innovate a nation is that you yourself you identify your interest. You identify that passion that you have. You identify something that you know you love to do, and then that's when it's after identifying it, I call it a niche. When you find your niche and you identify your passion, that's when you can now start talking about innovation, like developing it, improving it. So you need that niche to be able to understand what you want to become better at and understand how AI can help. I will talk about that briefly, like understanding how in this tech world that we are now, like the current era that we are in is the era of AI, and is kind of like a disruptive technology. I will touch on that later, but I don't want you to see it as a threat. Like it's looking like as if like AI is taking so much tech job, but I can tell you there's also opportunity. There are roles that are being created. So let me just move on to the next slide. So yeah, I mentioned that do not see AI as a threat, but rather as an opportunity in every or in any role or any tech career that you want to you are passionate about, like maybe when you find out your specific niche, just understand the AI element of it. So maybe I'll just give an example on that. Like understand the AI part element of whatsoever that you do. You know, there's a quote I put on this screen, and that's what I used to drive the next point. This quote is from Joanna, like well, I think it's one of the tech experts, and the person mentioned that I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my laundry and dishes. What is this just referring to? You see, I like AI is fast growing, so even you can't really predict what is going to happen in the next 5 years with AI because like it's really, really evolving and cutting across every sector. But one thing that is very germane and that is very known, no matter how AI grows, is that the creativity of a man in anything that you do will always be very, very needed and sought for more than anything. AI can't replace that. AI is only good at repeating mundane tasks. So when you are finding your niche, the creative element of your niche is what you need to master. So maybe let me, as I said, I want to use an example. So let's imagine that okay, you're a front-end developer, you are a back-end developer. AI can write code now. So that means that your job is not to write code. Your job is to be the creative director. Because like AI won't do its job if you don't prompt it. So it still depends on your creativity, right? That's just on a very low level example. But at that yet, AI is just a tool. See it as a tool. Yes, it can do so much, but you are still the creative director. So you only need to put so much, learn so much, like let your passion be something that is tilted, let your niche be tilted towards the creative parts of the tech career that you want to focus on. Don't see AI as a threat. As the person said that, I rather prefer that AI do my laundry. Let AI wash my clothes. Let AI wash my plates rather than AI to be writing for me. Because writing is creativity, is imaginative ideas. I will not AI write for me. I rather prefer to write because when I write, I can instruct AI to do other things. But when AI is now the one that is writing for you, that's when your creativities, like it dampens your creativities. So and it's very important that like you you try to identify that creative part of your niche. So you can always like when any tool comes, like AI tools comes, you can only use them as a tool that will take away mundane tasks from you because AI is data backed. If there's no data, there's nothing that AI can do. So that's one thing that I want to keep in mind as just move on to the next slide. So the next nugget I want to share as well is learning. And this also like it falls back to the first point. So, and this is about how much do you know about your niche, your area of interest. So I talked about AI, like you can use AI as a tool to maximize learning. So there's a tool called Notebook LM, is by Google. And even as a student, I think it's something that you can really maximize a lot. You can design it to be able to like give you response based on your concept notes or your lecture notes. Like you can upload your textbooks and your lecture materials, resources to it, and then it will give you a response based on that. So, and I mentioned it here, the reason why learning is very, very important to innovation, to developing yourself, to improving yourself, is because the desire to learn is a thorough test to identify your passion. The desire to learn is a thorough test to identify your passion. You only need to be inquisitive, like have the desire to learn. And when the first nugget was talking about interest or passion, that's why your interest or passion must be something that you are loved to do, not something you are forced to do. It must be something that you love doing, not something that you are forced to do. Because if you are forced to do it, you won't want to learn it. And that's why I put the quote there that your desire to learn is a thorough test to identify your interest. A true test to know whether you are truly passionate about your choosing area is your desire to learn. If you don't love something, you want to learn about it. But if you love something, it's something that you are passionate about, learning should not be difficult. So if what you are learning now, you are finding it out to learn what you call your niche, your area of interest, then that means that that thing is not your passion. So please find your passion. And when you find your passion, keep developing yourself by learning. Take self-paced courses online on Coursera, Udemy, EDS, a lot of this platform, very many of them now. Like, keep improving. This is the pathway to innovating yourself, like developing yourself before we go on collectively to develop the nation. So I move on to the next slide now. So, and this next slide is where I really touch uh, more on the topic of like the entrepreneurship. And the third point is thinking culture. Don't forget the first point is what's interest or your passion. The second point is learning. And the third point is thinking culture. This is very crucial and it's like the cruise of this. We've already touched on identifying your interest and passion, as I said, and learning. The goals of these two things, like the interest and your passion and learning, the goal of them is so that you can apply them. The goal of you finding a niche and learning the things that are related to your niche is so that you can apply them. You are not just learning to be a learner. Sorry, let me put it that way. You are not just learning to keep on learning. You are learning so that you can apply the knowledge. And this is where you need to think, because when you learn something, it takes a level of thinking for you to be able to apply the knowledge. And as I said, after learning, please think. When you learn how to do front-end design, to do web design, to do back-end development, think, how can I apply this thing that I've learned? That's very, very crucial. When you learn a skill, pause and think, how can I use this skill to solve a problem? That's the thinking culture. These are the things that are needed for innovating yourself before you innovate a nation. And Nigeria is a country where there are still so many problems. And again, what I mean by thinking culture, I'll just drive that point here. Even though Nigeria is full of so many problems, it is about your thinking culture. And I put it here that, are you nominal, problem aware, or solution oriented? What do I mean by that? A nominal person, a nominal thinking culture is someone that, when you just consider things as norms, like, yes, we have problem, there's electricity issue, there's that issue, there's this issue. You consider everything as norms, like it's fine. We live with the problem. That's a nominal thinking culture. And problem-aware thinking culture are people that, yes, they know there's this problem. They just talk about the problem, but they do nothing about it. That's also not a good thinking culture. But the thinking culture I want to emphasize today, and that is needed for entrepreneurship, is that solution-oriented. They are the people that the way they think, they see solution out of every problem, even in a normal working condition. They see solution there. And as I said, the country, Nigeria, is full of so many problems. If your thinking culture is that, this is our country, this is our nation, has so much problem. This our country has so many problems. Your thinking culture is kind of nominal or just problem aware. But because the fact that the country has a lot of problem also presents the great opportunity to create solution. Because there's no solution, you can't say there's solution when there's no problem. We only have solution when there's problem. So is your thinking culture that will determine maybe the problem that you are seeing them as problem, or you are seeing them as solutions. So, I mentioned that the goal of a learning a skill is so that you can use it to develop a solution. So you are learning a particular skill at the hub now. I want you to think what you are learning is like as if the organization is equipping you to be able to use that skill to solve a problem. Don't just be a nominal person. Don't just be a person that is cool with the current face of things in the country, in the nation, or just someone that is like problem aware. Like you just know that there's problem, but you don't have the solution. You are not proactive about thinking about the solution. So I think that's a major point I want to drive in this talk, because when we talk about entrepreneurship is not just about business. Entrepreneurship is about problem solving. Entrepreneurship is about creating solutions. So you can leverage these things to develop the nation. So let me move on to the next slide. I will just share some few case studies. Yeah, so you know, uh, I just want to make this practical because, as I said, like this is the cruise of this talk. An example of this is in the field of IoT and autonomous system. So autonomous vehicle rider, like the IoT, the self-driving car, like it's something that we have been seeing now as like the recent innovation in the world of like IoT and autonomous vehicles. If there needs a solution of having a car, so I want to drive the point of like this thinking culture that I just mentioned in the previous slide, like how you can link it to some of the case studies, like using some of these examples of innovation that we have seen in our world. There was a time that there was no car, right? And there was a time that the innovation of a car with a manual gear comes in. Like we still have it presently. It's in our world. We see cars with manual gear. We see cars with automatic gear, right? I want you to know that if there wasn't a solution of having a car with a manual gear, sorry, let me rephrase that. If there wasn't a solution of having a car with an automatic gear, right? Manual gear is like the one that you change manually, like when you are going up E, you have to change the gear maybe to one. I don't really drive, so I don't really know much about it, but I know like you change the gear when you are driving up E, when you are going down, like you change the gear as well, like just to increase the way the car can speed, right? There are also like other cars that you don't have to do that. The car will automatically, you just need to put the car on drive, and the car will automatically change its own gear from maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like it will automatically do that. So I put it here that, if there wasn't a solution of having a car with an automatic gear, which solved the problem of having to change gears manually, there won't be an innovation of a self-driving car. Like, is this just, I'm trying to like use a low-level example so that everyone can relate. It won't be possible if all cars are manual. You have to always change them manually. And there has not been anything like automatic gear of cars, like cars with automatic gear. There can't be an innovation of self-driving car, because just think of it. How would a car that cannot automatically adjust its own gear drive itself? It won't be possible. Because if a car cannot change its own gear, there's no how self-driving car will be possible. Because self-driving car, I know, like just by my own assumption, I know that it's going to be a car that is going to change its own gear itself. Because like it's self-driving, that means that it does everything by itself. So a self-driving car is going to change its own gear. So if the problem of a manual car has not been solved, the automatic gear as a thing, a car with an automatic gear, like if it has not been solved, there can't be an innovation of self-driving car. And the point I'm trying to drive with that is that innovation comes as we think and solve the little problem. I mentioned there was a time that there was no car at all, right? It is some people thinking that, no, it's not easy. It's a problem for us to be going from one place. I think then they go by horse, like you travel by horse, right? It is a thinking, it's an innovation for us to have a car. But even at the time that we have a car, I want you to see the thinking culture. Some people, like, it is some people thinking culture, that thinking capacity or mindset rather, that even though we have a car, having to change the gear of the car manually is a problem. If you're a nominal thinking culture, you just think that we already have a car. Fine, there's no problem again. But even at the point of having a car, some people see that yes, changing this gear manually is a problem. They identify the problem. That's a thinking culture that I'm trying to drive at with this talk. That's the thinking culture. So when you see any situation, when you see any innovation, like anything, see, let me even say this: any any solution that is developed, it creates other problems. So if your thinking culture has been in a way that you always see solutions in everything, problem and solutions in everything, then you're on the right track of innovating yourself and even innovating the nation. So it is so important. Innovation comes as we think and solve little problem. There was a time that there was no car, as I mentioned. Having a manual car is an innovation. And after manual car, everyone would think there's no problem again. But a solution-oriented person thinks that having to change gears manually is a problem, and presented a solution of car with an automatic gear. And someone else thinks that since the car could change its own gear, why not drive itself? If the car can change its own gear by itself, why can't the car even drive itself? And this is just an example of, like, IoT and autonomous vehicle that I just want to mention. That's how people think. And yeah, I want to also move to the point of AI. In the current world that we live in, like now, as I said, like, AI is evolving. It's causing a lot of disruption to many sectors. Like, many people are losing their job just because AI is taking over. But do you know that AI also has a problem? I don't know, maybe you've thought about that. AI has its own problem. I share this, you can check my LinkedIn page. I shared about this, like one of my posts on the LinkedIn, that there is a limitation with AI, and that limitation is about trustworthiness. AI is not 100% of quality assurance. It's not 100% safe. Even when you use them, like go on Bing, ChatGPT, Cloud, it's just that we don't always notice. I put it on that post on LinkedIn. You can check it out. Like, there is a note that's always on, like a disclaimer, when you around the chat box, where you put the text that you want it to generate for you, or anything that you want to prompt it to do for you. There's a prompt there, like there's a disclaimer there that says that this ChatGPT can make mistakes. These are problems. And I want to tell you that people are already thinking on this, like people are already working on solving this. And that's what I mean by, like, you having a thinking culture that is solution oriented. Don't be nominal. Don't think like, yes, as here has come, like that's the end of the world. No, think. I know I will drop back to the point I mentioned again, like, when you find your niche, your area of interest, what you want to do, don't do what AI will do. Be the creative director on all. Find out what's the creativity part of your niche, and then harness that creativity. That's what will make you stand out. That's what will make you innovate. Because, as I said, like, AI has its own limitation, and people already see that as a problem, and they're already working on the solution. That's people thinking culture. And that's how developed countries are truly developed. That's how they are truly developed. So, and I mentioned it, it is called innovation because it is a series of solutions. That's what is called innovation. Innovation is a series of solutions. Using that example of autonomous vehicle with IoT self-driving car, it is as people think and create more solutions. That's what we make it innovation. Is someone that did a car with manual gear, Someone did car with automatic gear. Combining these together is what formed the solution. This combining the solutions together is what formed the innovation of a self-driving car. So innovation is a combination of a series of solutions. So I'm challenging you today. Look around you. The country is full of many problems. As I said, that's a great opportunity for many solutions. It's only how you are thinking. If you're only seeing problems, then your thinking culture is just nominal. But if you are seeing more than just problem, you are seeing solution, then that's the right thinking culture to innovate your world, to innovate yourself, to innovate your community, to innovate your city. So I challenge you, look around you and think on solving the many problems. Even though you think the problem is already solved, think critically, there's still a problem there. You know, I put it there that creating your own version of solution is another way to learn more. Let me tell you, every solution creates another problem. You know, I already mentioned that. Every solution creates another problem. As you solve one solution, you provide one solution, it creates opportunity for another problem, to another solution. AI, before AI, we are living life. Things are going well. When AI comes, it feels like that's the biggest solution. Why, as I use that example, like people are already doing formal verification of AI. And that's how to ensure quality assurance of AI. And that's kind of also like I'm working on that kind of research, but on trains for software that are using on trains. But people are also are adopting the same methodology to make sure that AI is safe. So you would have thought that it makes no sense to develop another solution when one exists. It does make sense. Creating your own solution, your own version of the solution is another way to learn in a bigger way. And you know, at this point, I just want to use an example because I was asked to reflect on my personal journey. You know, I remember some months ago, I was just thinking about CCTV cameras. Though I see CCTV camera like is a solution, like it's a solution to surveillance, like because people use it to like ensure that they can see what is going on in their vicinity, maybe in their supermarket, in their company, in their shops, or anything. But I was just thinking about that. It's such a mundane thing because I'm just imagining. It's just as I said, CCTV is a solution, right? But if your thinking culture is something that is always problem aware and solution oriented, you will always think of a way to innovate things. So I was just thinking about, I see that it's a problem now to be using CCTV. Why? Because using CCTV camera, it's just like as if you are, even I know that there are some people that they do it with like recording, they record some of the footages, but it doesn't still make sense to me that if I have a CCTV camera now, I have to sit down somewhere and be watching what is going on. It is mundane. That's a problem. I have so many other things I want to use my time for. So it doesn't make sense for me just to sit down and be looking at one footage, be reviewing how people are coming in, going out. I want people to use my time for productive things. So that's a problem. And so as I was thinking about it then, that why not integrate like kind of AI to this CCTV in the sense that it will only, I want it to be intelligent. I don't just want it to be a camera that's just capturing footages of people going out, coming in, and reviewing them by myself. I want it to be intelligent so that when there is something suspicious, I will call it anomaly detection then. That's when we did that. It can notify me that, hey, bro, there's something that is going on in your compound, and I think you need to check this out. So I don't have to like sit down and be watching the footage every time. That's the solution. And yes, we embarked on this project last year. We embarked on this, and it's I'm trying to drive the point that creating your own version of solution is another way to learn more. Doing that alone, there is a lot of things that I would not have learned, I would not have known if there was not a thinking of that solution. But the funniest part is that when we finish developing this solution, like we're able to at least complete it, we're able to use it on PC, even we're thinking about how to commercialize it, like hardware, infrastructure. But it's only just for us to be able to find out that there's already an effective solution like that has been in use for several years. through a project partner in Canada. Like we had a friend, like a partner in Canada, and we presented the solution to him, and it was like, this is something that has been used for so many years ago. Or the fact is that I, as a person, I never see something like that. Like I never experienced something like that. But even for the fact that it's already existing, as I said, there's so much that I learn with it. Because if you the thing is that if you can't solve, if there are some learnings, there's some knowledge that someone needs to acquire before you can solve so many problems. I say, like, knowledge, the skill that you are learning is equipping you to be a problem solver. The things that I learned, even that the solution already exists, it also opened me up to other ways I can solve other problems because I already have more knowledge. So if you can't solve problem one, you might not be able to solve problem two if the problem one is a prerequisite to problem two. So it's so important. It is very important that you create your own version of the solution. There's so much that you will learn there. So again, the point is about thinking about the problem around you and how you can solve it. When you're able to solve problem one, it gives you the exposure to solve problem two, if problem one is a prerequisite to problem two. So I'll just move on to the next slide, just quickly. So yeah, back to the icebreaker question. I had this question earlier that assume that you become a citizen of that your dream country today. What would be your biggest aspiration? And what contribution would you make to that country? I want you to now think about this question in line with this thinking culture that we just talked about. If your thinking culture is nominal or just problem aware and not solution oriented, you might not have so much relevance because you will only think there is no problem and there is no contribution that you can make. See, if you come to like many of these developed countries, now I mentioned, like, I don't know what your dream country is. If your dream country is a developed country, you will come to the system and you just notice that all the basic problem of life that are so feasible, that have been that looks like they are they are very common around. They are ubiquitous, like they are very common around. They have been solved. If you just come into the system, like your thinking culture is nominal, you're someone that's just seen everything as norm, like all these problems that are always like there's light issue, there's I'm trying to like get these things done, like the transportation issues, like these things that basic problems of life. If you see that they have been solved, if your thinking culture is nominal, you can't make any contribution because you just see that, wow, this is like paradise. Like everything has been solved here. So let me just continue enjoying my life. No, you will not be able to make any contribution. You will even be a liability to them, to that country that you call your dream country. Because like if you can't think, if you can't think in a way that you are problem aware and solution oriented, you can't make any contribution. Yes, you can't make any contribution. I remember a time that when we were thinking of developing an automatic door, like making an automatic door, it's a good innovation. We don't want people just to be entering the office anyhow with the IoT team then. I only found out that in these developed countries, it is something that it is very basic. In ordinary supermarket, they have automatic doors. So it's not even a problem to think about. But as I said, if your thinking culture has been nominal, that you are just fine, you are cool with everything that happens around you, then you'll not be able to innovate. You'll not be able to like be a contributor. You'll not be able to like do something, you do anything. You just become like a liability to the country. So it all starts here. The opportunity that there's so many problems in the country is such a great opportunity to create many solutions. You only need to think. You only need to think. So if you start developing a solution-oriented thinking culture with many problems around you, start experimenting it where you are presently. Start experimenting it. Yes, there's this problem. How can I solve this? I've learned this skill. How can I use it to solve this problem? when you start developing that solution-oriented thinking culture with many problems around you, there's nowhere in the world you will go. When that, because it's a culture, that's why I call it thinking culture. When it has become your culture to think that way, there's no way in the world you will be. You will always see a problem and you always want to innovate. So the opportunity that you have so many problems around you, is a great opportunity. Start using it to develop a thinking culture. So anywhere you in the world you go, so that anywhere where you find yourself, you will always be a global citizen that is always relevant. Yeah, so I think this really drive the point. So I think the time is fast spent, and I'll quickly move on to the fourth point. So as part of innovating, like if innovating for a national and global development, another major point is relationship. That's the fourth point. You can't innovate alone. You don't have all the skills. Work in unity and in teams. You can maximize the skills of your colleague by sharing and working together on your solution. As I shared about some of the innovations that we've already done at the IoT team, it was not something that I did alone. It was something that was also contribution from other members of the team. And this is how we even grow as an organization. This is how we grow as a city. Don't forget, we mentioned that collective personal development is what leads to a national and global development. Because we are talking about a nation, we're not just talking about individual. It's collective individual development, improvement that leads to national and global development. And when you relate with people, have a personal core value. I just want to advise you on that. Core values such as loyalty, humility, respect, honor, courtesy for thinking, pertaining to others. Have personal core values. It is very important. Don't let don't let don't let money be your driving force. When relating with people, don't just chase money without having value or providing a solution. I do tell my friend that, money will come. Offer value first. And how do you offer value? By your thinking culture. Think about problem in every situation. And think about problem and solution, not just problem. Think about problem and solution in every situation, in every circumstance that you find yourself. That's the thinking culture that you need to innovate yourself and innovate the nation. I picked this quote from my favorite book and I just rephrase it. It says that seek first the most important thing, and all other things, including money, will be added unto you. Don't let money be your chase. When you just chase money, you become valueless, because if you are not prioritizing value always money always follows value. When you place a value down, when you're able to provide value, there's no how money will chase after you. Money is something that will be added to you. Seek the most important thing. Leverage this thinking culture of being problem aware and solution oriented. And I know uh, it will be a pathway to innovating yourself and the nation. So the last point I just want to mention is about love. This is the fifth point. Please love your nation. You can't be a solution to what you don't love. I also paraphrase this quote. It said that pray for the innovation of thy country. May all who love this city prosper. When you love your country, you seek the best for your country, for your nation. There's no way that you will not prosper. It's just a natural law. You get what you love. It says that for God so loved the world that he gave. God so loved something that whatsoever you love, you get. Whatsoever you love, if you are just wanting to you talk bad about the country, please change that mindset. Change that mindset. You need to love the country so that you can prosper in it, so you can get it. You can acquire the weight of it. And I mentioned it that love, passion, and dedication are key drivers of innovation and progress. When you love, you put your passion with to just reiterate the 5 points. We talk about interest and passion, learning, your thinking culture, relationship, and love. These are the key drivers of innovation and progress. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate. Thanks for the time. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.